John Matthews, a highly respected black judge, had just wrapped up a complex case that took weeks of deliberation. As he finished the day with the satisfaction of delivering a fair decision, he decided to drive through his quiet suburban neighborhood. The area, known for its tree-lined streets and large, well-kept houses, was where he called home. John was driving his sleek black sedan, a car he had worked hard to afford. It wasn't flashy, but it was elegant enough to reflect his success. As he drove, his mind wandered to the next professional challenge awaiting him, another difficult case at court. However, his thoughts were interrupted by flashing blue lights in the rearview mirror. Surprised and slightly annoyed, he checked his speedometer to confirm he was within the speed limit. Without understanding the reason for the stop, he signaled and pulled over. A police officer approached with a stern expression. Carla Morris, a white police officer, walked towards John's car, her hand resting firmly on her holstered gun. Without explaining the reason for the stop, she coldly ordered license and registration. John, keeping his composure, handed over the documents without hesitation and calmly asked, "Is there a problem, officer?" Morris ignored the question, scrutinizing John's documents with exaggerated focus. She glanced at him, then at the car, as if trying to piece together a puzzle that wasn't there. "Is this your car?" she asked, her voice laced with suspicion. John replied calmly, "Yes, it is." "Is there a reason you pulled me over?" The officer then accused him. "We've had reports of suspicious activity in this area, and this car matches the description of a stolen vehicle." She paused for effect before asking, "Do you live around here?" John, feeling frustration build, still responded calmly, "Yes, I do. This is my neighborhood, and I can assure you this car is not stolen." Despite his response, Morris instructed John to step out of the vehicle. He hesitated briefly, knowing this situation was headed down a familiar and troubling path, a police officer assuming the worst, simply based on the color of his skin. However, he didn't argue. He slowly exited the car, keeping his hands visible, aware that any sudden movement could be misinterpreted. "Put your hands on the hood," Morris ordered. John's heart raced, not out of fear, but out of indignation. As he complied, Morris made a snide remark. "Nice suit, businessman, or something. Or, did you steal that too?" John clenched his jaw, feeling the sting of humiliation, but remained silent, knowing that any comment could escalate the situation. Morris proceeded to search the car, rummaging through the glove compartment, under the seats, and even rifling through his briefcase. By now, a few curious neighbors had come outside, watching the scene unfold with a mix of confusion and concern. After what felt like an eternity, Morris finally said, "Everything looks clean, but I'll need to take you to the station to clear things up." John, incredulous, asked, "To the station? Based on what?" The officer, now defiant, crossed her arms. "I don't like your attitude. Something about this doesn't sit right with me. We'll settle it there." Having had enough, John, who had remained composed until then, made a quick phone call. Morris, watching with disdain, sneered, "Calling someone to help you out of this?" He didn't respond, simply speaking calmly into the phone. A short time later, another police car pulled up, this time with a man in a suit stepping out with a serious expression. "Morris, what's going on here?" the man asked with urgency. "Just doing my job," she replied, visibly shaken. The man shook his head. "Do you have any idea who he is?" Morris, confused, responded, He's the suspect in a stolen vehicle case." The man sighed deeply. "This is Judge John Matthews, one of the most respected judges in the state. You've just detained him illegally." Morris's face went pale. She stammered, I didn't know. I thought." The man cut her off. "You didn't think. You profiled him. You saw a black man in a nice car and assumed the worst." John, silently observing the exchange, had been the victim of racial bias, witnessing how deeply ingrained prejudices can cloud the judgment of even those tasked with upholding the law. The officer, shaken, muttered, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize." John interrupted. "You didn't realize who I was, but that shouldn't matter. The way you treated me, the assumptions you made are unacceptable no matter who I am." The man in the suit assured John that disciplinary action would be taken against Morris. But instead of demanding her dismissal, John opted for a more meaningful solution. "I don't want her fired. I want her to understand the gravity of what she's done. And I want the department to take real steps to prevent this from happening again." The man nodded, relieved, and John, without another word, returned to his car and drove away. As he did, he couldn't help but reflect on how many people, without his position of power, experienced similar situations and couldn't demand accountability. He knew this was just a small victory in a much larger fight, but it was a start. John Matthews' story sheds light on the devastating effects of racial profiling, even among those entrusted with enforcing the law. Officer Morris's actions were not just a mistake, but a reflection of a systemic problem that permeates society. John's response demonstrates that true justice isn't merely about punishment. It's about creating opportunities for reflection, education, and lasting change.